for all of us, because I got a lot of takeaways. I'm happy to be here today to chat with you guys about housing, primarily here in Metro Atlanta. But before you talk about housing, it's really, really important to get a good handle on what's going on in the employment world. And I'm happy to say that here in Metro Atlanta, collectively, we've been doing a great job, an awesome job creating new jobs. That chart up there is showing you how many jobs how many people are working in Metro Atlanta right now. So obviously that dip is showing the decline during what we call the housing depression, housing recession for everybody else. But I'm happy to report that we've gained back every single job that we've lost, and even then some. So over the past 3 years, we gained 219,000 plus jobs. Over the past 5 years, it was almost 300,000 jobs. But perhaps the metric that everyone likes to hang their hat on is, well, where are we from the peak, the prior peak? And we've created almost 100,000 jobs above our previous peak. So overall, we're doing a very good job creating new positions here in Metro Atlanta. We've been averaging about 80,000 net new positions each month for the past 2 years, believe it or not. And over the past 12 months, we've been averaging about 90,000 net new positions. So it's showing you, just very recently how our economic job engine is getting even better. So you got to have a job to buy a house, and that's why it's very important for me to talk about housing first or jobs first and foremost. So let's look at construction starts and closings. Now this information here is from our proprietary Metro Study database. I probably need to slow down and just share with you where our information comes from. We have a staff locally, we're a national firm, but locally we have 50 people, and basically what we do is count houses for a living, believe it or not. But we count tens and thousands of them, and by doing so we can roll all that information up and have very good information to help us track the health of the overall housing market. And our clients are builders, bankers, and brokers for the most part. So the black line up there represents new home closings. The red line represents new home construction starts. And obviously I'm going back from 1998 to show where we used to be versus where we are today. And I'm very happy to see that construction starts, single-family home starts, single-family and townhomes, construction activity is up 17% year over year. By the way, Frank, you are the very first person to see our latest and greatest information. I haven't even released this to our clients yet. So construction starts up 17% year over year. That's awesome. And closings were up 18%. We're right around 18,000 new home starts now, using a rolling 12 months worth of information. We're still nowhere close to where we used to be, and forget the peak, which occurred here locally, pretty much nationally in mid-2006. Those were artificial figures. We don't need to go back to doing that kind of volume. But if you look at 1998, once again, we were doing almost 30,000 construction starts and closings. I think that that's going to become the new norm for Metro Atlanta. Around 25 to 30,000 new home starts is very sustainable for our market area, but it will probably take 3 years to get up to about 30,000 new home starts. So we still have a long way to go. It's feeling pretty good for those that are in the real estate sector. It's feeling pretty good because we can see and feel how things are moving in an upward trajectory. By the way, Brian, my guess is as construction starts increase more and more, we'll probably steal some of those ag laborers away to come build more houses. So it may impact the overall ag sector. So let me tell you a little bit why construction starts are so important. Did you know that just about every single house that's built, it creates around 3 new jobs? So as construction activity continues to increase, it's going to have a spiral up effect on overall jobs. And all you have to do is just slow down and think about it. How many different sectors are involved in the construction sector? Obviously, there's the banking sector, the finance, the insurance. The list goes on and on. There's lots of, how did that happen? There's almost 25 different subs involved in building one single house. So it's a huge multiplier effect. I project that we're going to see very strong, we'll continue to see strong employment gains here in Metro Atlanta, particularly as construction continues to increase. This slide here is showing us what percent change in new home closings have occurred for some of our more northern counties. And so the far left hand, for those guys in the back, you probably can't see the county. So North Fulton, that's showing us, that's actually showing a small decline in new home closings, but all the other counties are showing increases. And the further you get out from core Atlanta, the 285 sector, the higher the percent changes are occurring. And that's because a couple of different things. One, Norfolk County has actually run out, or very close to running out, of finished buildable lots. And so we're not going to see, you won't be able to see strong gains in that county versus some of the other counties like Hall County, Paulding County, Bartow, Jackson. We're going to start seeing larger and larger increases in construction starts and closings in those markets because that's where lots are available and because land and lot prices tend to be a little bit more affordable in those markets versus some of the counties like Forsyth County, and we're going to talk about, speaker will talk about Forsyth a little bit later. But land prices and finished lot prices have been escalating, and the more land and lot prices go up, the more overall new home prices will have to go up as well. And so we should expect to see a continued climb in overall home prices. This slide here is showing us what prices have been doing over the past several years since 2006. We're not at an overall record high with new home prices. And here's the reason why. This is collectively massive. All new home closings are taking place all over Metro Atlanta. We're starting to see a lot more new home activity in the more exurban markets, and those price points are lower than where we had been building. So I can no longer calculate what the new home price is today versus what it was last year or 2 years ago because I'm not comparing apples to apples any longer. But overall, home prices are going up, both for new homes and resale, and I think we can continue to see new home prices increase somewhat. This slide here is just Hall County, but it represents what's happening pretty much in any county, and it's showing me what median and average prices have been each year. For example, 2006, the median price was $194 versus today, let's say since 2014, it was $286. Long story short, we're seeing record home prices occur in every single market. And once again, I think that's going to always be the case. We may see prices starting to moderate sometime next year, but because of the very limited inventory for new and resale, the month supply is around 4 months for resale, 6 months is considered normal. The new home side is constrained inventory as well. That's all of that's going to add additional upward pressure on home price. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Gene. Our last speaker before we get into the question and answer period is James McCoy, President and CEO of Cumming Forsyth County Chamber of Commerce.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you all having me, Frank. Bob, thank you for inviting me to join you guys today. You know, I've had the really interesting and educational opportunity over the last, I'd say 6 months of doing a little speaker circuit tour in Forsyth County of meeting with homeowner associations. And as you might imagine, chambers of commerce and homeowner associations don't always see eye to eye on certain things. And so it's been a great learning opportunity for me in talking to how a lot of folks who are not deeply involved in the business community view growth, view the future of not just our community, but our region, and sort of the gap that exists there. One of the things that I quickly learned, and some of you may share this view too, is that the business recruitment game, economic development, is about incentives. I've heard that over and over again, that he who has the greatest incentives wins. And I can tell you at a local level that is absolutely not true. In fact, very recently, the International Council for Economic Developers released a report that in their survey throughout the U.S., 10 years ago, 80% of all new job announcements or economic development projects had some sort of local incentive, a tax abatement or infrastructure put in. This past year, that survey noted that 25% of announcements had some sort of incentive. And a big reason that they speculate in that change, oddly enough, has to do with the availability of data. Companies are now self-selecting. No longer the days of getting a huge consulting firm. Certainly the larger companies still do this. But now much smaller companies have the opportunity to have a great deal of data at their fingertips that's pretty inexpensive, and in fact know an awful lot about our communities that we don't even know. And so they are making decisions that are based on that information and know where it really is going to be the cheapest place to do business. And so the incentive games on a local level become less important. At a state level, across the country, that remains to be critically important. Fiscal policy is absolutely vital in Georgia remaining competitive. But a little bit about us as a region. I only have just a handful of data points, but I think they're fascinating. 35% of all economic development announcements, all new job announcements in the state of Georgia for companies relocating occurred in this region, in the North Georgia region. Outside of Metro Atlanta, that is the single largest proportion in the state. We are outperforming other regions because, well, there's a lot of reasons for that, and I won't spend a lot of time on that, but we'll get to that in just a moment. Interestingly, out of that 35%, nearly 70% of those jobs in this region were announced in Hall or Forsyth County. And that's remarkable. We should be proud of that, but we should also realize that we have a lot more opportunity as a region to take advantage of as well. You know, the discussion has now turned for economic developers and chambers of commerce around the state to what really will keep us competitive and what really will, now that we're all sort of on an even playing field with availability of endless amounts of market data and information, what's really going to keep us competitive. And it's been touched on already a little bit, and what the focus has been, it certainly is on a state level, and I think increasingly across the state at the local level, it's about people, and it's about the workforce. And he who has the best workforce wins. That really, truly is the question for us in looking at the next economy and the future of our region is our ability to train, retain, and grow great talent. It affects every single industry. Healthcare, agriculture, home building, it doesn't matter. Across the board, if we don't make sure that we're doing everything we can to have that great talent, we will lose. I think a lot of folks think about competition in economic development as, well, it's a Hall Forsyth issue, or it's a Hall Gwinnett issue, or it's a Forsyth North Fulton issue. But I'll tell you, I can count on one hand in the last 11 years the number of times that we have had projects that have truly been competitive, comparing us in Hall, or us in North Fulton, or us in Gwinnett. But we get an awful lot of comparison to Northern Virginia. We get an awful lot of comparison to Southern Denver, South Denver. We get an awful lot of comparisons to North Dallas. That's our competition. And we are competing as a region, whether we know it or like it, it's very much a regional question. In our recent survey of employers just in Forsyth County, or chamber members, they noted that it's actually the number 2 issue of concern was workforce development. Their ability to find talent. When we asked them, what are you most concerned about the future? Number 1 was the overall U.S. economy. Are we going to be able to sustain the bit of growth that we've had, and can we continue that and grow it? Number 2 was, I don't know where my next workforce is coming from. We have a data center in Forsyth County. It's a pretty significant employer for us. They live and breathe, their business is programmers. The average age in their company of a programmer is 53 years old. Industry-wide in data centers, the average age is 28. That's a workforce development issue. So one of the things, the great Kit Dunlap, and I talked to her actually just last week, and I've been having this conversation a great deal with our colleagues around North Georgia. And we believe that the key, and I would encourage all of you to really give some thought to how your businesses operate, where your next generation of talent is going to come from. Because what we have been talking about, we really believe we're going to have to completely double down on our support of certainly our local school systems and demand more from our school boards. Forsyth County, we are very fortunate that we have a great school system. I'd say a world-class school system. I'm the president of the chamber. I'm supposed to say that anyway. But we truly do have a great school system. We should be asking for more. We should, as a region, should be asking for more. We need to double down on our support for Lanier Tech, North Georgia Tech, and the great school system that exists there, and certainly for the University of North Georgia. Not all that long ago, the previous president of the University of North Georgia took a small group of us to Northern Virginia, to Manassas. Lynn Jackson was on that trip, and we got to see the power of George Mason University behind the economy and with the economy of Northern Virginia. We have an exceptional opportunity in having a regional university in North Georgia to be able to maximize that, to make sure that the folks that they are generating and the folks that they are producing are truly world class. When Frank and I were talking, one of the conversations, and this conversation comes up a lot, came up in conversations that I've been having with some homeowner associations, and that is, where's all the tech jobs? Why aren't you guys doing more to bring more tech? We hear a lot of, well, gosh, tech jobs are only going to be in Midtown. Give up even trying. Millennials, the 28-year-old programmers, don't want to live in exurbia. They barely want to live in suburbia. And so what I would encourage you to do is to do what we did several years ago.